The subject of today's discussion is the acceptance of one's own obese body, a phrase that appears to be empowering on the surface, but frequently hides a complex network of denial, profit, and social manipulation. The late 1990s and early 2000s, when dial-up modems screamed, the Matrix was revolutionizing reality, and a silent but expanding subculture of bigger women and their admirers started lobbying hard for what they termed fat acceptance, are worth remembering. This was a movement at its core, not just a matter of feeling good in your skin, with its own goals, markets, and manipulation. These ladies were not only promoting self-love, they were strategically placing themselves in a niche where there was a high demand and a low supply. Some people were aggressively searching for men who had greater sexual marketplace value, which meant men who, by conventional measures, were outside of their league in terms of attractiveness, social standing, or physical fitness. "If you shame me for my size, you're the bigot" became a bargaining point in the fat acceptance movement. "You are enlightened if you accept me, and perhaps I will go on a date with you." It made personal choice a moral high ground while reversing the narrative on accountability. Others had money on their minds. The plus-size apparel market was booming. Torrid and Lane Bryant were among the companies that were now promoting aspirational obesity, rather than simply selling practical clothing. These weren't simply clothing. They were floral numas that may be used as tents, shiny sequin shirts that screamed, "Look at me," while concealing rolls, and bright, vibrant camouflage dresses. They were identification uniforms. And the women leading the charge. Prior to Instagram's existence, they founded newsletters, websites, and even print magazines devoted to the BBU lifestyle, establishing themselves as influencers. According to sources, one of the first pioneers made 6 figures by mailing out catalogs of lingerie that featured 300-pound women modeling leopard print thongs. This was not empowerment. This was capitalism at its finest. However, it wasn't limited to style. The movement made use of the same complaint mechanisms that drove second-wave feminism, with the exception that the bathroom scale, rather than the patriarchy, was the target this time. Groups of supporters gathered in community centers and church basements. Online communities like Dimensions and Phoebe evolved into virtual confessionals where women exchanged advice on how to confidently request airline seatbelt extenders, how to file a lawsuit against their employers for size discrimination, and how to persuade doctors to end their fat phobia lectures. And we shouldn't overlook the men, the fat admirers, or FAs as they are called. Some people had a genuine fetish. Some people were opportunists who understood that they might be able to punch above their weight, both figuratively and literally, in a dating pool filled with insecure, large women seeking affirmation. It was obvious who had the upper hand. Love me as I am, or you're superficial. It was liberation in disguise as emotional leverage. The groundwork was laid by the early 2000s. The communication had changed from "I'm okay as I am" to "you're wrong if you disagree." The profiteers, meanwhile, were prepared. The massive junk food businesses were silently funding body positivity initiatives as they increased chip sales. Knowing that the number of patients was increasing, pharmaceutical firms made investments in diabetes treatments. And the realm of fashion. It doubled down, since why sell one dress to a size 8 when you can charge twice as much for 3 yards of material to a size 28? It wasn't natural. The multi-billion-dollar fat acceptance industry complex, which is founded on emotion rather than science, was born at this time. And this was just the start. This is only the fat acceptance apocalypse, in my opinion. The New York Times Magazine published a recent article. Although the woman who wrote it has had a child, she said that her body is just as beautiful as it ever was. However, she also shared her emotions upon seeing herself in the mirror after having a baby. It's clear who will benefit the most from this trend. Large agricultural corporations, apparel businesses that can charge extra for niche food-inspired clothing, and of course, the healthcare sector in countries like the United States, where larger people tend to pass away much sooner than slimmer ones. However, the bigger ladies will argue that joggers and marathon runners also die, some as early as their early 20s, and that not being overweight is also a contributing element if you just come out and state that. Still others would respond, no, it's because they are not running around out in the hot sun without any protection. And the older ladies will say, everyone dies sooner or later, so they might as well die while they're active and not sedentary. I used to be in this very place. It doesn't matter in the United States, since the hospitals appear to profit more from lardus classes and attractive men who are frequently transported through the rear loading dock by forklift. The issue is facts versus emotions. The reality is that the heavier you are, the faster your cartilage wears down since gravity puts stress on your joints. Truth. The larger you are, the more effort your heart must exert to supply oxygen to all that additional tissue. As a result, your heart rate increases. The heart is a vital organ. Additionally, chest pain will result if the body lacks enough oxygen to function correctly. As a result, a pacemaker may be recommended by your doctor to give your heart a lift. It brought back memories of my adolescent years in the former Yugoslavia when I used to shop at communist government shops. The shelves were bare, and all that remained was garbage that nobody wanted to purchase. Not only were the shelves half bare, but they weren't even able to place orders for goods for those establishments to sell. However, that's another subject. A society with a large number of obese women places a significant strain on the healthcare system. The fat acceptance movement begins with this first wave. The Fat Underground, a feminist organization, was founded in 1973. In response to what they saw as an increasing bias against obese individuals in the scientific world, Sarah Fisher and Judy Freespirit, its founders, took action. They coined the expression, "A diet is a cure that doesn't work for a disease that doesn't exist," in 1979. The phrase "Big Beautiful Woman," MGTOW, was invented by Carol Shaw. Davy and others established a fashion and lifestyle publication for overweight women to read while attempting to maintain their balance on the toilet. The 1980s also saw the establishment of activist organizations in England. The first wave was, for the most part, over at this point. After gaining societal acceptance in the United States, the second wave, which started in the 1990s, eventually made its way to other nations. In the 2000s, the third wave began as a result of campaigners claiming that men mistreat obese women because of their size. What's next? Will they claim that gravity is oppressing them? The fat acceptance movement, which appears to be modeled after the accomplishments of feminism, is around 10 to 20 years behind feminism. Additionally, many feminists are overweight themselves, making it an ideal match. The University of Maryland now offers a course called Fat Studies, as stated in an article titled Fat Studies, the latest grievance course for campus crazies from Bike Barn. According to the course description, the introduction of fat studies will not see fatness as a medical or social issue, but rather as a component of human diversity, experience, and expression. In the future, our society may view bestiality and even cannibalism as expressions of who we are rather than as indicators of poor mental or physical health. I believe the fat acceptance movement is just feminism clothed in a muumuu or parachute. The left should simply position the heavy women in the front and hurl Twinkies at their opponents at the next Battle of Berkeley or campus riot, and observe the stampede. This is what it really boils down to, a culture that empowers those who are perceived as victims. They're eating too many Hershey's Kisses, but I'm unsure who their victims were. It appears that overweight women want to be treated equally in the dating market while simultaneously being seen as victims of prejudice. They are promoting the notion that laziness is now a virtue since they are unable to curb their appetite, thereby transforming the straightforward act of closing the refrigerator door into a symbol of widespread disobedience. The terms intuitive eating, food freedom, and rejecting diet culture are now used to describe what used to be referred to as gluttony or a lack of discipline. There are whole TikTok ecosystems where influencers film themselves devouring 5,000-calorie cheat days while lecturing viewers about health at every size. HAES, a philosophy that conveniently ignores the fact that wearing size 52 pants comes with a side of congestive heart failure. They've turned language into a weapon, calling calorie a slur, portion control an act of oppression, and anyone who recommends a salad a fatphobic colonizer. Because equality was insufficient, they also want to be treated as unique and granted exceptional privileges. They want larger aircraft seats at no additional cost, stronger office chairs, tax-deductible as accessibility, and required plus-size representation in all advertisements, runways, and business boardrooms. In 2023, under pressure from body positivity campaigners, a large airline quietly increased the size of 40% of its economy class seats. But the man in 22B with a broken leg still has to pay $80 for extra legroom. Gym classes that are fat-friendly are now available at universities, with low light and no mirrors, since seeing your reflection during a squat is supposedly trauma. Tuition increases, which affected all students, including the cross-country runners, were used to pay for the fortified toilet seats, which are rated for 800 pounds, at one Ivy League institution. The last time I went clubbing, I noticed that muscular guys were vetting thin women, while thin women were vetting fat ones. The dance floor has transformed into a real-time sexual marketplace algorithm. The muscular man in the corner is performing a visual BMI sweep rather than looking for personality. Regardless of how many times the 300-pound man in the corner publishes, "All bodies are beautiful," the size 2 girl in the crop top is not flirting with him. The baseline is overshadowed by the hypocrisy. The very same activists who yell "love me as I am" will ghost a man if his fridge has anything greener than lime jello. Their own DM filters are set to 6-pack only, while they advocate for a reduction in global standards. What about the downstream consequences? They never stop, because a person's body autonomy ends where the jaws of life begin. Fire crews now prepare for bariatric rescues using reinforced stretchers and specialized winches. Amusement parks are being sued for discrimination after they install extended safety bars on roller coasters and subtly post weight restrictions in small print, only for the ride to break down. Body type filters are first introduced by dating applications, then taken down after criticism, only to be brought back as lifestyle preferences, so the algorithm can continue matching Chad and Stacy to one another while the others continue to swipe in vain. This is not empowerment. With a side of denial fries, this is entitlement. It's the best scam there is. Persuade millions of people that they are flawless as they are, sell them the mumus, the diabetes drugs, the strengthened furniture, and the emotional support snacks, and then blame society when the debt is due. The fat acceptance movement is not about health, happiness, or even acceptance. It's about transferring our own accountability to the rest of us while depositing the checks. That's all for today. It's a sign that you're still conscious if this diatribe caused you to vomit out your kale smoothie. Pretend you'll never eat a donut again and click that subscribe button. Tell us in the comments whether you think we're moving towards a society where morbidly obese will be reclassified as a protected class. Ring the bell to make sure you don't miss the next one. Next video, same time, same channel. No apologies. Bye.